Today we're going to be checking out two watches from one of the most underrated watch brands. These watches deserve way more love than they actually get, because I think for the super low price that these watches cost, they offer a proper slice of artistic watchmaking. Hello there, my name's Kieran, welcome to Top Tier Ticker, I hope you're having a good day. It's officially 2025, which means a couple of things. Firstly, Happy New Year! But also, it means that the festive period is now over and we can go back to buying ourselves some new watches. Understandably, your budget might have taken a bit of a beating after buying some gifts that will likely get used once and sit in a cupboard. So the watches that we're taking a look at today are both super affordable. I've actually had quite a few requests in the comment section of late to check out this brand in some more detail, so I got in touch with them and asked them to send some watches over. I do get to keep these watches after the review, but as usual, the brands have no influence in the contents of this video. So which watch brand am I talking about? Well, it's an independent British watchmaker founded in 2007. And these guys have gone about watchmaking slightly differently. Rather than just offering your usual watches, Mr. Jones approaches watchmaking in an artistic way. Now, they still offer a spec sheet that provides good value for money, but they also put a lot of effort into the designs of these watches. Now, you might have seen this watch before on some of the watch channels. A guy floating in a pool on a ring with a rubber duck. Yes, that one is a Mr. Jones watch. And if you thought that one was crazy, wait until you see this one I've got in for review today. So, great prices, good specs, and unbelievably fun designs is what this brand is all about. I've got two watches here today that are offering something completely different to one another, and the most affordable of the two is actually my favourite. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, loads of videos coming out in 2025, and let's check out these awesome watches. Firstly, I think Mr. Jones offers a cool unboxing experience. You know, the packaging isn't luxury here or anything, but it's nice. Comes with a little paper sleeve and then a nice little wooden box. You can also see the watch's case back through the box. Just a simple little open, and then you do get an instruction manual with every watch. Because most Mr. Jones watches come with an unusual way of telling the time, so this is how you are going to learn to read the watch. And truth be told, I've actually had my eye on this particular model for quite a while now. The reason for that is I think it's a really cool complication to have in the collection. I think the shape of the case is really cool, and for the price of this watch, I think it's nearly unbeatable for what it offers. So this model is called the Sun and Moon. Now, looking at that dial, you might assume that this is some sort of moon phase, but that would be incorrect. Even though this watch looks quite crazy, it's actually fairly easy to read the time. As you can see, this watch features a central hand, and that is your minute hand. The upper half of the dial features a cutout, and there is a rotating disc beneath that cutout. Now, during the daytime, the sun is used effectively as your hour hand. So as the sun spins around the dial, it will be pointing at an indicator on the dial. And of course, wherever the sun is against is the hour. Then once the sun leaves the dial at 6 p.m. in the evening, the moon will come onto the dial. Then the moon is your hour hand on the watch. Then the same again, once the moon disappears, the sun will then again be your hour hand. Now, you can actually set that inner ring independently, which basically means that you can jump between time zones really quickly, but also it's possible to set the half-hour time zones on this watch too. Now, it does mean that this watch can be a little bit of a pain in the arse to set. However, this piece does feature a quartz movement, so you won't have to set it too often. Now, one of the biggest downsides to a quartz movement for me is when the seconds hand misses all of the markers. However, because this watch doesn't feature a running seconds, of course, that's not going to be an issue on this watch. This watch comes in at just £225. But don't be thinking just because you're spending 225 quid that you're getting a poor quality watch here, because that is not the case. The movement inside of here is a Swiss quartz movement, to be more specific, the Ronda 51524H. Covering the dial is a flat sapphire crystal, so longevity is there in terms of the clarity. Also, these watches are rated to 5 ATM, and Mr. Jones states on their website that these watches are swimmable. This watch comes with a full 316L stainless steel case. As you can see, this particular piece features a completely brushed finish. Now, in terms of sizing here, this watch is going to work for a lot of people. It comes in with a 38mm case diameter. The lug to lug here is 47mm, and the case thickness, because of that quartz movement, is just 10.8mm. Now, pretty much all Mr. Jones watches come with an 18mm lug width. Now, although this does have a 38mm case, I'd actually say it wears a little bit bigger than that. The lug to lug here isn't necessarily like long, but the flatness of them and sort of the silhouette makes them look a little bit larger on wrist. Now, you do have a choice of supplied straps with these watches. You have well over 10 choices, including leather, mesh, rubber. I think my favorite is actually this blue nylon strap with the white stitching. But another cool feature of Mr. Jones watches is that you can actually engrave the case back. This costs a staggering £10. You can write pretty much anything you want on here. I think this would be a good opportunity to maybe mark a date that's special to you, especially if you're going to buy this watch as a gift for a loved one. Maybe you can write the date of your anniversary. And if your loved one doesn't like watches, who knows, maybe that converts them to liking them a little bit more. But one thing that shouldn't go unsaid here is that pretty much every single part on this watch is custom made. These cases are made specifically for Mr. Jones, hence the little Mr. Jones logo in the side. But all of the artistic side of making these watches is done down in London. Indeed, the prints, the dial, the hands, these are all made in England, which is something that you don't see from pretty much any other watch brand. These watches are also assembled right here in England by the Mr. Jones team. But if this watch was just a little bit too boring for you, then just wait till you see the next one. So this model is called the Ricochet, and instantly you'll either love this watch or hate it because of what's going on here with the dial. It's genuinely hard to describe how much personality this watch has. Now, believe it or not, this one's actually much easier to read than the Sun and Moon. Basically, this is an analog watch that tells you the time in an almost digital way. So this piece features 3 robots playing on a pinball machine, and the time is displayed within where the score would be on the pinball machine. One click to adjust the time here, so no-go state position, and as you can see, the time will slowly move in 5-minute increments. Then when the hour is about to change, the hour will jump to the next. Indeed, this watch features a jump hour movement. This is a mechanical movement, it's made by Seagull. It's the TY2709 caliber. This movement features 20 joules and has a 40-hour power reserve. And this piece is slightly different than the Sun and Moon in that this one features a dome sapphire. And because that artwork is basically against the glass, you get these really cool angles where you can see the dial even from extreme angles. I mean, come on, that is just so cool to look at. Water resistance is again the same, so 5 ATM swim-proof. Full 316L stainless steel construction. However, this one mostly features a polished finish. There is a small brushed section to the middle of the case, but I think the biggest difference here is that this case is a little bit smaller and a little bit thinner. The lug designs between the two watches are quite different. The case diameter comes in at 37mm, the lug to lug comes in at 46.7mm, and the case thickness including the dome sapphire is 11.5mm. This watch does wear slightly smaller than the Sun and Moon. I also think those lugs just wrap around the wrist a little bit more than the Sun and Moon as well. And of course the case diameter is 1mm smaller too. And this is definitely a unisex watch. So if you're in the bad books with the wife and you need to get her a gift, something like this might just be the play. Now this one has come with the Mr. Jones mesh strap, but of course all of the same strap options are available for this one as the Sun and Moon, and the case back engraving is also available on this watch for the same price. The Ricochet is slightly more expensive than the Sun and Moon, but again you are getting a mechanical movement inside of here and a dome sapphire. Also, I think it's fair to say that these dials take a lot more effort to make than the likes of the Sun and Moon, so it's easy to see where your money is going with this watch. This one comes in at £345, still a ridiculously good deal for the spec sheet and the design on offer here. So a few negatives then. I'm not the biggest fan of the cases on these watches. I think the skeletonized lugs can sometimes look a bit awkward. I'd like to see them release something with a more traditional case design. Although the leather strap feels good quality here, it's stiffer than I was on New Year's morning. Again, I'd recommend going with the mesh or nylon. The movements used in these aren't exactly marvels of engineering, but these watches are what they are. I think you have to be a bit extravagant to wear one of these watches anyway, because they no doubt attract a bit more attention than the usual timepiece, which I know some might like the idea of, but also some won't. So obviously, if a traditional watch is what you're after, then these are not for you. You'll find the Mr. Jones website linked below. Yes, they're all a little bit crazy, but you'll more than likely find one that you think is pretty cool. If you haven't already, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Bye for now.